So a name that was popular during the election cycle, at least in the state of Utah, was Evan McMullin. Sort of captured lightning in a bottle for a period of time here. Thought he could capture maybe some electoral votes in the state. He's back this week, and we all were wondering what he's going to do. He has started a new nonprofit, Stand Up Republic is what it is called, with some objectives and some commercials. Let's just hear from each one of you for a moment. Kind of why is he doing it? What do you think the purpose is? Where does it go?
I think it's to keep his name out there. I think it's his version of the Women's March, and it'd be interesting to know. Can't wait to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's interesting is the ads he's running. He's running them in Virginia and Washington. So, I mean, if we think he might be positioning himself to maybe run for Senator Hatch's seat in 2018, but that, those ads aren't really going to hit Utah voters. It almost seems like he's setting himself up as the President Trump punching boy, and that's the best way to get his name out there, is to present himself as the other. If he runs these ads critical of Trump in a market where Trump's going to see it, or Trump supporters, well, maybe that he thinks it'll it elevates your name if you're attacked by the leader of the free world on Twitter.
Maybe he's hoping for a tweet.
Probably.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Okay, what do you think, Quinn?
I'm hoping he runs for office again, just for the spectacle of it. But I think what I know from last year is that he was the most popular presidential candidate in Utah if you take the standard of a favorability rating. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get votes as a third-party candidate because of our electoral system and so on. But he was the most well-liked by far. It wasn't even close. And that leads me to believe that if he wants a political future in Utah, mm-hmm. there's an opportunity there, and this might be a first step for him keeping his name out there, seeing if he can set up something in opposition to the president in a way that would leverage into some kind of political position.
Well, so how does he leverage this group? Because the idea was that he was going to help reshape what the Republican Party is.
Well, it's easier. The more outrageous President Trump is, the easier the job becomes.
Uh-huh. Okay, so he has to just hope that some of this continues.
The more reasonable President Trump becomes, if he becomes reasonable at some point, then that becomes harder for him to leverage anything. So
Senator Michelle, so let's assume some of that happens right there. His hope of reforming from the outside was one thing, but is the reform going to happen without him, since the Republicans are controlling everything else?
Well, I mean, some Republicans see what Donald Trump did as a different kind of reform for their party, that they saw engagement they hadn't seen before. And Evan McMullin, his main issue has seemed to be not Donald Trump. He doesn't have actual policy positions that he's been really pushing that are signature. I think it's telling that one of the ads he's running is about Russia and Trump's connections to Russia. It's not about, trade policy or immigration or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if he can somehow harness that into some kind of movement going forward, as opposed to just television ads.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think's next?
I think he's wise to have done a conservative movement and not some kind of third party. That a third party is a waste of time in American politics. So that was a smart move. Uh-huh. And I think defining his issues more clearly is sort of a wait and see. And I think maybe expanding beyond Trump in a way would be wise as well.
So Quinn, you do tons of polling. We all love reading them, and you followed Evan McMullin closely. What race is he going for next?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you don't have to take a stab.
I don't know. I mean, I think if Chris Stewart had been appointed to the Air Force Secretary, I think he should run in the second district. I think it would be tough to run against Jason Chaffetz, but there's some negatives there in the last few weeks with how he's running his committee and the kinds of things he's saying. I think Senator Hatch would be another possibility that would be an opportunity, but there's going to be a crowded field potentially. So a lot of unanswered questions, and I think there's a lot of homework to do there to figure that out.
Go ahead.
Part of his unanswered questions are people like him as a person. They appreciate that he was an alt-Trump and an alt-Clinton, but his policies, I think, have not been scrutinized enough. And so
But I think the other issue is I don't think he lives in Utah yet. And if he goes back before those delegates, that matters to some people. And there is this latent wing of the Republican Party, more on the delegate side, who, they might see him as kind of a carpetbagger, so to speak.
But he's got a campaign infrastructure. He's got people that are loyal to him that worked for him. He could get on a primary ballot with signatures. I don't think that would be a big stretch for him and bypass the convention. And I think that would make it interesting.
Very interesting. We'll watch what happens next and watch what happens with this new organization. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.